Good morning, everyone. Like Devika said, thank you for your time this morning. I'm also here on behalf of the Economic Development Collaborative Center, which is a small business development center, which we service Ventura County and Santa Barbara. I'm one of their advisors. We have a plethora of advisors that can help with marketing, grant writing. I help with understanding government contracting and helping small businesses gain whatever socioeconomic certifications that you may qualify through the Small Business Administration. So for more information, or if you have a small business, I'll have this slide up at the beginning and at the end of the presentation. Again, this is successful contracting with the federal government, part 2. Part 1, I really talked about, just kind of went over the overview of getting started with doing business with the government, getting registered with the different sam.gov accounts, putting the information out there about just how to get prepared and set up for to start doing business with the federal government. On this form, first I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I've been in federal government construction and contracting for 20 years. I'm a third-generation roofing contractor. I own a construction company called J. Davis Construction Management. We've been awarded over 300 federal government contracts spanning from all over the western region, from California, Arizona, Nevada, Colorado. My grandfather was one of the first 8A in the 8A Minority Small Business Program back in 1963. I'm also a successful graduate of the 8A program, and for you, those who don't know about the 8A program, we will talk more about that towards the end of the presentation. I graduated in 2019. I'm an EDC advisor, and then I'm also a board member for our local hospital in Ventura County at St. John's that services Camarillo and Oxnard. I'll begin this presentation with there's only a few types of solicitations. When the federal government puts out potential opportunities, they call them solicitations. And most and not all of these solicitations are housed on the sam.gov. We'll go over that a little bit too, but that's kind of what I presented in the last presentation. Assuming that most of you guys understand that and you guys are set up with the SAM, there are requests for proposals, which are RFPs. These are when the government puts out a comprehensive, complex project. These solicitations will require you to respond to them in a manner of not only technically, but with the price proposal for your product or service. A source of sought is a situation where the government is seeking out a potential supplier directly. A lot of these they'll put out information saying who has a window glazing company that may be a woman-owned business in Lompoc, and they'll use the dynamic business search, or they'll use a source of sought for businesses like yourselves to respond to see what the interest is for that opportunity. There are also requests for quotes. These are typically a procurement for goods and service with well-defined requirements. These are usually price-only quotes where you'll respond with your best proposal for your product or service. Then you have the simplified acquisition procedures. These are streamlined process, also known as like P-card. Each government agency has a threshold that they can spend on their SAP procurements. We'll talk more about each of these. And then the most lucrative ones are the indefinite delivery contracts, or indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity. These are where these give a government agency the flexibility to award multiple task orders or work orders under one particular contract. We'll talk more about the request for proposals. Like I said, these are more of a comprehensive, complex solicitation. They'll require you to write an in-depth technical proposal, meaning a lot of the government, and this is one of the keys to doing government work, is they don't always just take the lowest price. I've never really understood that. Hey, I want the best product, but I'm going to choose the lowest price and service out there. And it doesn't always work like that. But the government has a source selection through the RFP process where businesses are able to, so to speak, give their managerial or technical approach to this proposed solution. And depending on how you write up your technical or how the solicitation is put out, sometimes the technical is more outweighed than the actual cost. And sometimes if you're not technically acceptable, they won't even look at your cost proposal. So writing a good technical proposal, understanding the requirements is very key. As long with a cost proposal, and usually on the request for proposals, let me go back to that slide, sorry. Usually on the request for proposals, they'll ask for like a cost breakdown. You won't be able to just give a lump sum price. So want to know what was the methodology or the breakdown of like how you arrived at your proposal for your product or service. And then during the RFP process, you're also allowed to engage with the contracting officer. They put out these solicitations, and until you get familiar with them, you may have a lot of questions. And it is okay to ask questions because you would like to be able to provide a fulfilled response, meaning if you turn it in and you may have a winning number, but if you didn't respond or ask the right questions so you could fully understand the solicitation, you may miss out on a great opportunity to start a relationship with the federal government. And then lastly is like understanding the evaluation process is very critical for preparing your proposal. During the RFP process, the government in their solicitation will put out a very clear list on how you're supposed to respond to this proposal, all the way down to how many pages you're allowed to respond, how this proposal is supposed to be tabbed, and the font and the size font. They're very specific, and all those things is very key for you to understand. Then also, like I mentioned before, is understanding the evaluation process. Are they evaluating what they call best value? Are they evaluating cost proposal only? Do you also have to have past performances that are relevant to this solicitation? So all those factors are very key to when you're responding to a request for a proposal. The next line is called a source of SOT. Again, this is when the government is seeking and there's a potential opportunity out there. In my career, during my 8A career, I was able to respond to a lot of sources of SOT and turn those into direct sole source awards, which we'll talk about too. But the government uses the SAM.gov as a dynamic business search and also to put out these source of SOTs. And it is very important to respond to them, or if you're sitting around and you have other business colleagues that you all may be in the same business, you may want to also get them to engage with this source of SOT, because if the government gets enough interest in a veteran-owned company that can respond to this solicitation, a woman-owned company or minority-owned company, it compels them to put that solicitation out in that manner, which goes into your advantage and limits the competition, which then, gives you a higher success rate at winning a potential contract. A lot of these source of SOTs are very filler. They'll say, hey, your name, your company, they'll ask for a resume, and then they'll ask what your interest is and what your socioeconomic status is. If you're a small business, woman-owned business, veteran-owned business, service-disabled, veteran-owned business. And those are usually the gist of responding to a source of SOTs. They're not real long. They're not intended to put a lot of time into. They're intended for the government to find out what interest there is for this potential opportunity. Requests for quotes or solicitations are primarily used for procuring goods and services. RFQs are focused on price only. These are the opportunities where you want to put your best price forward. These RFQs are also good entryways to get into the government, meaning when you're starting out either in business or starting to do business for the government, you may not have the resources, the knowledge and experience yet to respond to a request for proposal, because those can be very complex at times, or they sometimes could require a proposal writer when you're young and career, which could be costly. So requests for quotes are the opportunity for you to put your best price forward, and the only thing that's being evaluated is price. And if you are successful in winning that opportunity, like I spoke about before, you get the opportunity to open the door for a relationship, because the government contracting is very relationship based. So RFQs are good to respond to, again, for businesses that don't really have the resources or barely getting into understanding the nuances of doing federal government contracting. And then usually these RFQs are going to be competitive bids, meaning that you're going to be competing against other suppliers, manufacturers, and or contractors for this opportunity. And RFQs are very often straightforward, and they're a lot, like I said, they're a lot less complex than a complex evaluation process than the request for proposal solicitations. And if we're talking, I like to be interactive, so if anyone has any questions, please raise your hands. I tend to talk fast, try to slow it down. And your simplified acquisition procedure, or your SAP, or another word is called P-card work. Another very good entryway to get in. This is a streamlined method for low dollar value contracts. It simplifies the procurement process, and the different agencies or different departments within agencies all have their own spending power. When I began, and I moved here from Florida, I started with SAP work for Navy-based Ventura County. And I'm a roofing contractor, and when it would rain, they would need a local roofing contractor to come in and repair their roofs, and they would use their P card. And each different agency could spend up to $2,500 per transaction. And I would go out there 4 or 5 times a month. I was generating revenue, and now I've been the IDIQ contractor since 2012, doing the roofing contractor. But it started with, doing the work that nobody wanted to do, because there was already roofing contractors, and I don't want to, some people get big enough and they can't, afford to go do roof repairs, and it's not affordable for them. But I was always, trying to build a relationship. So very good way to get in, knock on the door, and ask if they have, SAP contracts, P card work that you may, introduce your service to them on. There's no proposal to do. Usually SAP contracts come strictly from your marketing efforts, knocking on the doors, attending conferences, cold calling clients, sending out your capability statement, could all lead to these SAP contracts. When I met with Vandenberg a few months ago with one of my proteges, they were saying that there's a need for local contractors, especially for the lower dollar contracts in this area, because a lot of their contractors right now are from out of the area. So they have no one to service their small SAP type contracts. Those are typically geared towards, a local business. Then you have the indefinite delivery contracts. I would say, in my experience, these are the more lucrative contracts. This gives the base the opportunity to award a contract to one contractor or multiple. The contract can be up to, and they're usually, $50 to $100 million. That doesn't mean that that contractor or pool of contractors will generate $100 million, but that's the cap on the contract. And then there are multiple years attached to this. So like I mentioned, I've been the IDIQ roofing contractor at Navy-based Ventura County since 2012 and 13, and they've issued task orders against that against that IDIQ contract. So if you get a $50 million contract, then they can award $50,000 task order for this product or service all the way up until that $100 million cap is met or until the years expires. And these are very lucrative contracts. They usually come out in a request for proposal format. Like I said, you can be a single awardee of a IDIC, IDIQ, or they call them job order contracts. Or you can be the awardee of what they call multiple award IDIQ, which I'm a part of too. And so now when task orders come out, instead of 30 contractors that are bidding on this particular opportunity, I'm bidding against the other 4 or 5 contractors that were already, pre-qualified, so to speak. And now we're just bidding against each other. And the technical side of things have already been, we've already been technically accepted. So now it kind of just, each task order turns into a RFQ, a request for quote.
Are these, are there, I would imagine, but are there opportunities for these to be just sole source to veteran-owned or woman-owned business?
Yes.
Okay.
So IDIQs can be sole source, direct award, but it can't go over the dollar amount. So depending on your NAICS code, so for my NAICS code of roofing or construction, my threshold, the largest sole source I could get was a $4 million. Right? So they awarded me a 2-year contract for up to $4 million for the roofing IDIQ to start with, and that was a sole source award. When it came back around, I won it on the request for proposal, but that was able to be a larger 5-year contract. That was under the HubZone program because the threshold was over the dollar amount for sole source. So depending on your NAICS code would depend on the dollar amount size of contract you can receive through sole source opportunities. And IDIQs give you a huge advantage, again, to build relationships with the clients. A lot of the IDIQs will come with like a base year, meaning, hey, we're going to try you out for a couple years, and then they come with these option years so you can get the full extent of the contract. So if you're not performing, if you're not meeting requirements, or things happen, they may not exercise your subsequent options. So it's very important not only to, when you get these contracts, to understand the importance of performing and also building those relationships, because they can turn into a very lucrative long-term contract for your business. At the contract at Hueneme, for me, I'm a big advocate of being an employer. So we've been able to employ a lot of people in the community, in Ventura County community, with pretty consistent projects. Some of the do's and don'ts when responding to government contracting. You want to do your research and homework on the government agencies and their procurement needs and past contracts. All that information is out there on the SAM. The more information that you have about your client will give you more information to respond to other than just what they were able to provide in the solicitation document. So if you know in the past, or they've had issues with certain things, maybe that's some of the key points you can highlight in your proposal of bringing solutions to some of their needs. So doing the research is very key. Understanding the solicitation, carefully reading through the solicitation documents and all the requirements. Starting out, it's very overwhelming. I'll be honest with you. Some of these solicitations, especially for like the RFQs, RFPs, for some of more of the complex and bigger contracts, those solicitation documents are, miles long. And but as you get used to it, a lot of it becomes repetitious. So you start skimming through it, but you want to understand fully the requirements, because if you don't and you accept an award, 9 times out of 10 that costs a business money when they missed something or didn't properly understand something, so didn't properly quote it. Building relationships, I'll keep honing in on establishing relationships and connections with the government officers, even if you're the unsuccessful offerer. But now you've opened up the door to potential leads because you've been responding to this contracting officer or contracting specialist. So now you can market to them. You have their contact information to send capability statement, to check in periodically, to see if there's a need for your service or product that you provide. So even after the solicitation process happens, and whether you're the successful awardee or not, it's still the opportunity and lead to build a new relationship. Then you want to follow up on your bids with the contracting officer, just showing interest, showing that you're eager and that you're ready to perform or provide your product or service. Some don'ts, especially with government, is rushing. Rushing through the process could be very detrimental and missing something. Like I mentioned before, they're very specific on the information that they would like to receive back. It helps them with their evaluation process when all the information is being fed back the same. So you can miss out, and I have missed out on opportunities because so the proposal wasn't formatted right, or didn't have something as simple as just a cover page, or you missed the deadline by a few minutes. They're very stringent on those type of things. So not rushing is very key. Not over-promising is also key, especially with the federal government. You're only bound to do things that are in writing in the solicitation in your contract. And out there, they'll ask for whatever they can get, or whatever you said that you will be able to do. So, don't overpromise. Just sell exactly what you can provide at this moment, and that can always grow. I started out as a roof repair contractor, and now I'm a full general contractor 15 years later. So you can always grow into other things, but you don't want to start out overpromising and then not being able to deliver, and you lose confidence in that client. Don't neglect any of the compliance, meaning, you don't understand it, so that doesn't pertain to me. That's why it's always good to ask questions. The government always allows a period of time between responding to RFQs, RFPs, and solicitations to ask questions. They respond to all questions, and so it's really, you don't want to neglect any of the compliance. You don't want to miss any deadlines, as far as they'll have deadlines to submit your questions. You don't want to miss those deadlines. You don't want to miss any deadlines to submit your bid in. Now, a lot of bids, or most bids, are all electronically, either through email or through the sam.gov, that you'll have to upload your bid by a certain time. And then don't ignore the small business programs that are available to you. And you may be responding to a solicitation that may not say that it's veteran-owned, but you can click the box that says you're a veteran-owned business, and that may be more compelling. It may push you over as a deciding factor of a successful awardee, because even though that contract may not be for a certain socioeconomic certification, when they award the contract, they still get the credit if that business is in that small business socioeconomic status. So don't neglect to check all the boxes that apply to you, even if you don't think it's applicable to the particular solicitation. Anyone have any questions before we move on to preparing the proposals?
What's the best, figuring out who the procurement officer, like first steps, and hey, who do I even tell about, my new company, our new classification? I mean, what's the best way to?
The best way to approach it is a couple ways. They all have, usually they'll do small business outreach like at Vandenberg or some of the bigger contractors that are already working out there. Vandenberg pushes their small business goals to them, so they'll do outreach looking for small businesses to work with. That's a good way to get in front of them. I use the sam.gov also for a research tool because as past solicitations are on there, they have contact information. I cold email them, asking them for, sending them a capability statement, asking, for a future capability briefing in person or through video conferencing now. And also engaging, like I said, with the contractors out there. Most small businesses have small business liaisons that are on the facility. So finding out through your local SBA, which I think our district might be Los Angeles, who the SBA liaison for each base that year or federal base that you're trying to pursue, and then the small business liaison, their role within the base is to find small businesses and bring meet with those small businesses, take their capabilities, and bring that back into the decision makers.
Capability statement.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a specific format for that, or is there someone at SBA that can help with that?
No, we talked about that last time. Is a capability statement is like your one-page snapshot of your business on a one-page paper. That's what's widely recognized as market.
Like a resume,
Sorta. Is you want to list your business, your NAICS codes, any pertinent information. Excuse me. Before we leave, I can pull one up so you can kind of see an example. But I always say what you put on your capability statement is if you're in an elevator with someone and you're going to tell them about your business and you got 30 seconds to do it, what are you going to put on that piece of paper? And I've also been advising people, because it's 2023, capability statements is, like I said, is a widely recognized marketing document to the federal government. But now in 2023, we can bring that capability statement to life, right? We can record a 30-second video and put it as a link in our signature, because I think now more people now are more prone to watch a video than to click on an attachment and see a bunch of words. You want, especially if you can capture their attention within the first 10 to 15 seconds. So I've been advising people to do both. If you're comfortable in front of a camera, if you have a team or somebody that's comfortable in front of a camera, make that capability statement come to life. You can host it on somewhere and have it as a link to not only have, your PDF document of the capability statement, but also have a video, and then you can kind of put a face to the company name. So now we'll start talking about proposal writing, because that's a huge it's a huge key to winning in government contracts is your proposal preparation. There are proposal writers out there for sure. There's very good ones out there. They're very expensive. A lot of small businesses, they're too expensive for us to take on. But if you're able to, with yourself, through technology or through proposal writing company, third party, having your proposal writing process down is very key when you want to get into the government contract, because some of these solicitations and RFP, they go fast paced as far as when they come out, when they're due. So if you don't have a process that you take to go through to respond to the solicitation, it can be very time consuming for you. Understanding the requirements is always, again, the foundation of successful proposal. Doing a careful analysis of the solicitation documents is crucial to identify all cost specifications and evaluation criteria. Like I said, understanding how they're going to evaluate the proposal before you write the proposal will get you in the mindset of how you need to respond. Understanding the totality of all the requirements before writing the proposal helps you get in the mind frame, and then also understanding those requirements before putting any costs together for your product or service. I typically, me and my team, we make sure we understand all the requirements before we even start to, pull documents or work on estimates or respond to the technical. It's key to present the proposal in a clear, organized manner and an exact response to the solicitation. For those that haven't been living above ground, AI is a good tool now. I think that's a really good tool. I'm not the best writer. I'm a contractor. But I do use AI to help me with grammar and to kind of like clear out my thoughts to make them sound more professional and to make them flow a little better. So, using tools that are already out there that are either very inexpensive or that can help aid the process is definitely something that I would recommend being open to. Is the way that technology has come in and can help us with some of these complex things. And then if you can, and I understand because when I started, I was a 1 or 2 man show, but forming a proposal team is key to responding because everything can sound right in our head, right? Like it sounds good, but getting someone else's eyes on it, getting someone else's opinion on it, or just having someone that can play devil's advocate for you to answer all, well, what if this, and did you think about that? So I think, if you can form a good proposal team, that's very key. At the minimum, just be able to have someone to bounce and review your proposal while, so you just don't miss anything. And so you just get another opinion. Well-crafted executive summary is very key. Basically getting how are you going to grab their attention right away, right? How are you going to explain your company and how you can provide the solution to this solicitation right away is usually key. You usually get to start with some type of executive summary and cover page, and you want that to be very strong. Highlight key strengths and benefits of your company in response to the solicitation. What prior experience do you have? We get very creative when we talk about, highlighting our strengths or our past experience and making it relevant to this project so we can write it up for the evaluator to feel this company has the relevant experience. And relevant experience doesn't always mean that the work is exactly similar. We make things relevant as far as it was on a federal property. That makes it relevant. So all of our guys that were on base had to go through a security background. So we got qualified personnel. That makes it relevant. The type of building or, in construction or roofing, the building may be occupied when we're doing our work. That may make it relevant. So kind of bringing outside the box relevant factors in, because especially when you first start out, you don't have any government past performances. It's all about how can you write it up, because the work that you have and the experience you have is relevant, but writing it up in a way that your evaluator sees that as relevant is very key. And sometimes you got to think outside the box, not just rather than, hey, I built this wall and I don't have any relevant work to do in government contracting and building a wall. Well, I got relevant experience doing a wall and another high security type of building or facility or for a customer. So you can always kind of think outside the box when it comes to that. Use data, facts, and evidence to support claims made in your proposal. Meaning if you have any business accolades and awards, or use those in the proposal to strengthen your proposal. Provide references, case studies, past performances. Those can all help your credibility. Most requests for proposal, they're going to ask for past performances. They're going to ask for references. So that's why it's very key to build relationships again. So because they play on, if someone picks up the phone and says, hey, how did this contractor or this company perform for you? You want to be able to leave a good impression, so they give you a good reference. It's very important to proofread and edit your proposal very meticulously. Again, I've had proposals thrown out for some of the things where I can't believe I would miss that, and miss out on a good opportunity. So proofreading is very key. And then again, if you can have multiple team members review the proposal, I think that helps eliminate errors. And if you can have someone play that devil's advocate, it helps you not make mistakes and miss things in response to the solicitation. Understanding and addressing the technical requirements is critical in proposal success. I can't stress that enough. The technical specifications are detailed requirements outlined in the solicitation. Like I said, they're going to be very detailed in how they would like you to respond and what you're responding to. And then, in fact, you're also allowed to ask questions through the process. You want to be able to thoroughly comprehend these specifications to tailor your proposal to it. Technical specs often use industry jargon. It's good to decode that language and also use that same language in your proposal, because those are the key words and stuff that they identify. Using the hundreds of acronyms that the federal government uses, getting familiar with those to be able to speak in the same language that they're used to speaking in. It gives the evaluator a flow of your proposal and a sense of, hey, we're speaking the same language. They must understand this requirement. Conducting gap analysis to identify any disparities between your capabilities and the specified requirements. And that's why I say it's very good to understand the requirements, because I've also wasted time putting together a proposal and we got to 80% done and we said, oh, we don't even qualify. We don't have enough of this experience, or we don't have enough experience doing a design build or new construction. So before you even waste all those man hours understanding, do you even qualify at this current time for the proposal? I mean, we see great opportunities out there that we feel that we can do. And that's awesome, but with the small business, we're very limited on time and resources. So understanding if you even qualify to respond for it is very key. And then creating some type of matrix. That's or task list that that what we do, because they'll be very specific on technical, cover page, cost proposal, managerial approach. They may ask for company hierarchies and things like that. Creating some type of matrix or checklist to make sure that you're fully responding to the entire solicitation. And then again, if you can, involving technical experts from your team or outside sources. The EDC is a good one. Me personally, I've been blessed with the opportunity to have a lot of family members in the business, so I'm able to bounce my proposal or ideas off them. If you know anybody else that may be in the business, it's good to get some technical expertise before responding to a proposal until you're very comfortable with what you're putting out. Any questions on just proposal preparation before we talk about the sam.gov. So this goes back to what we talked about in session 1 is the sam.gov. Or is everyone familiar with the sam.gov here? So the sam.gov is the central location for all government business. That website is where you will find new opportunities, data dating back to previous opportunities, and it's a dynamic search for the federal government. So if the federal government is searching for a particular company, they'll use the sam.gov as a research tool to find a business that is registered. You cannot do federal government work and accept a government contract until you have an active account on sam.gov. Once you have an active account on sam.gov, that is all you need to then start bidding and receiving government contracts. It's all these mysteries that you have to have certain certifications or be in business for a certain amount of time or be at a certain business status or level. All that is untrue. The only thing you will need is to have an active sam.gov account, and that's the portal where you're going to enter all your business information. That is the portal where you get paid through, so you have all your banking information in there. It's a secure website, and it's the gateway to doing government contracting. So you go to the sam.gov, request a user ID, and then follow through the prompts of signing up your business.
So if you have a woman-owned, a veteran, disabled, do you have to go through a certification process before you tell sam.gov that you have those qualifications?
So service disabled veteran is a self-certifying. So that one you will select that you're service disabled veteran owned. For women owned, minority owned, and there you mentioned another one.
Well,
Women.
Just veteran owned.
So that information gets pulled from the SBA's website.
Okay.
So we'll talk about that one too, but the sba.certified.gov website is where women-owned businesses apply. That's where you apply for your 8A. That is also where you would apply for and get information about the veteran-owned businesses as well. So for those, it pulls that information from the SAM account. So when I was in the 8A program, or I still have an active SAM account, it would pull, as long as I was in the 8A program, those two websites would talk to each other and it would pull the information that I was in the 8A program. The day I graduated, it fell off. But for the veteran-owned one, that one's a self-certification.
Okay. And you don't have to go through the SBA for that then? For the veteran-owned?
No, the veteran-owned has...
They know through the VA?
They go through the VA, and then they have their own contracting assistance program, and you will submit your DD form 14, and then you would, and all the other information as far as corporation or sole prop if you're a sole proprietor, and then they'll review it and send you back that letter that says you're a service disabled veteran.
But that's through the VA?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have that to self-certify?
Correct. You'll have that to add to your profile on sam.gov, and you just want to keep that because once you get an awarded contract, someone will say, hey, I want you to verify it, and you'll have your letter.
Okay, thank you.
But for all the other women-owned, minority-owned, and HUB-owned is another one, all that information, all those ones are through the SBA. They're applied through the SBA's website, and that information is pulled into the sam.gov. It's certified.sba.gov. I think it should be a link on there. We'll get to that. So you must be registered to access government opportunities. The SAM is also used for submitting proposals sometimes. A lot of times this right now is through email and through what they call a DoD safe link. And again, I use the sam.gov as a resource tool for myself. Before I had my own relationships and I was looking to do business with the government, I was searching the sam.gov, and On those solicitations, they had contact information to either contract specialists, they call CSs, contract officers representatives, what they call CORs, or the actual contracting officer, which they call the KO. And I would email them, and and I would follow up and continue to email. And I wasn't emailing, and I would also only be emailing them because I was doing my research on the SAM.gov, knowing that, well, I'm going to contact this base because the award that they previously had is expiring. So I know there's a need coming up for a roofing contractor, right? Before you even get into government contracting and you search your product or service on the SAM, you can see what agencies have the most activity in your services. And like I said, so when I was doing, marketing, it was very targeted. It was targeted because I knew previous contracts, or they had a lot of previous activity in my product or service, or they had expiring contracts in my product or service. And it always felt like, oh man, you contacted me at the right time. Not really, I just kind of did the groundwork. And also, there's also the FOIA request that you can do through SAM.gov, which is the Freedom of Information Act. So if we usually do this on larger contracts, like IDIQ contracts, because there's no guarantee when you get an IDI contract that you're going to get that $50 million. I've had IDIQ contracts. For the first 2 years, there was 0 task orders coming out. But you want to, sorry about that, kind of lost my train of thought there. You want to use that SAM.gov as a vital resource to do research, to do back-end research, and so you can understand when you're marketing if there's even activity with that particular base or facility.
So when you go into SAM.gov, do you search by zip code?
Here, let's see. Is there a Wi-Fi here? Yeah, I search both. I'll search keywords for NAICS codes. I'll search locations too. And then I'll also search current and past opportunities. And through the search engine, the way you can set it up is you can have saved searches. And those saved searches, they're easy to go back to. And your saved searches when those solicitations pop up, they can be a link can be emailed to you. Once you have an active account.
How do you find out what the NAICS code is for the business?
The website. It's the census.
SAM?
No, the census website. It's NAICS codes. If you put that in a Google search bar, that will take you to the Census Bureau, and you will type in your product or service, and it'll populate NAICS codes that are
You said
NAICS. We'll go to it. It'll be on there. All right, and then some of the benefits of what the gentleman was talking about, some of the SBA program. SBA offers various small business programs to provide opportunities to small businesses. Some examples are the 8A Business Development Program, which I was a successful awardee of, and they had put that application on suspension for a while, but now the SBA is back to taking applications. I think the application process has changed a little bit, but they are that program, which I believe is the most lucrative program for small businesses. HubZone program. HubZone is what they call a historically underutilized business zone. There's a lot of HubZone area in Lompoc. And so if your business is located in a HubZone and 33% of your employees live in a HubZone, you qualify for the HubZone. It's a moving target though. That one's a hard one to keep because you hire and or let go of someone, it messes up your ratios. Or for the hope is you have long-term employees and they move out of a hub zone, and now it messes up your ratios. But government does put out quite a bit of contracts through hub zone, so it's a good one to take a look at to see if you qualify for. There's also the Women-Owned Small Business Program, which is growing their headway into being able to do. You can already do sole source award to women-owned businesses, but now they're wanting to level the playing field with 8A, and as well as service disabled veteran-owned businesses to be able to do sole source direct award. And the difference between a sole source award and a sole source direct award is when they sole source the opportunity, there still may be 2 to 3 competitors, but they will be of that same socioeconomic certification, whether it's disabled, veteran-owned, woman-owned, 8A, or hub zone. And when they do a sole source direct award, there is no competition. They're negotiating directly with that business. Usually that happens through marketing efforts, through relationships. And the government really likes to, well, there was a while where they liked it to do the sole source direct awards because in the competition process, they got to get what they select based on whether it's RFQ and it's the lowest quote, or whether it's RFP and someone in Texas had the best proposal, but they're responding and trying to service Vandenberg from Texas. So the sole source direct award is usually ideal for federal government because then they've selected that contractor. They're negotiating a price with this company that ensures that they get their product or service met, but then the company is also agreeing that they can do that for this price. And it's usually a win-win situation. There's no evaluation process because the evaluation process for RFPs could take up to 60 to 90 days, for them to evaluate all the proposals. And they have facilities or products and needs that they have to do. So also sole source direct awards are streamlined and very fast-paced for the federal government. A lot less work for them. Exploring these programs, there's the website, certified@sba.gov. When you go onto the website, it asks you do you qualify for any of these programs? There's a couple prompts where you're asked answer yes or no questions. And depending on that, they'll tell you if you should move forward with pursuing whatever certification that you're looking to gain, or if you're not a candidate for any other programs. Talked about most of the programs there that we just talked about: veteran-owned, hub zone, women-owned.
Can I ask a question just about something we were just talking about?
Yeah.
So right now, is sole source direct just for 8A?
Correct. Sole source direct is just for 8A. There's been a lot of legislation for it to be woman-owned sole source direct and also veteran-owned sole source direct. Now the VA does have programs where they do sole source direct to veteran and disabled veteran-owned, but they have their own contracting program.
How complicated is to go through, be certified as an 8A?
It's not a complicated process anymore. Okay. Everything is streamlined through the SBA's website. If you go to the SBA website, you can see what the application process is like and what the document requirements for any of these you can. On the SBA's website, they have all their application requirements, documentation requirements, which we'll talk about on the next slide. But I would say, because I also, if you needed help, that's what we do at the EDC. You can set up an appointment. But the document preparation is the most time consuming. Because once you understand, I need to have A through Z documents, at that point, you're just uploading these documents to a website. So the most time consuming is gathering these documents, because a lot of these they're asking for 2 years of your life, business and personal. Bank accounts, tax returns, articles of incorporations, or LLC paperwork if you have it, or your city. So they have a list of the application documents. I always advise people to gather those documents electronically before you prepare your proposal, because at that point it's just uploading and then waiting for a response back from the SBA. To your question, before you get started, I always tell people to choose your NAICS code. You can have one primary NAICS code. Your primary NAICS code is going to be where you receive the most revenue from. That's how the government determines what your NAICS code is. But then you can have as many secondary NAICS codes as you can perform, or your product or service that you provide. I started out and that can change. Your primary and secondary NAICS code can change. I started out as a construction management company when it was just me, and that was a particular NAICS code. And as I grew, I changed my NAICS code through my SAM profile, is where you change it. And if you're in one of the SBA programs, you just have to submit written approval through the SBA to add or change any of your NAICS codes if you're in any one of those programs. If you're not, you manage it yourself through the SAM.gov. And keeping the SAM.gov profile once you register and have an active account is very important. We have someone go in there about once a quarter and just update it, make sure everything's up to date, make sure the people that they're showing as your contact people are still with the company or still have valid, the email addresses and contact information is still valid. We go in there and make sure that the NAICS codes that are presented on there are still valid. We want to be contacted for any new services. We recently started to do solar. So now we're adding that, and we want to make sure that, if someone's searching the SAM.gov, that we want to populate in that dynamic business search. So you always want to keep your SAM.gov account updated and active, because you cannot receive an award if you don't have an active account. I've had people that I've known that have won contracts, and before they award the contract, they go to the SAM.gov to see if you have an active account. And if you don't, they go right to the next one. They don't call you and say, get your account up to date. They're just going to the next person.
So how do you keep it active?
Well, keeping it active is logging in, having your information up to date.
Oh.
Yeah. There's nothing per se that you have to do or apply for.
How does it become inactive?
It becomes inactive for not signing in. And if you're in one of the SBA programs, there's a yearly update that you have to do for some of these programs that you're in to verify that you still meet the status requirements, and that goes through the SAM.gov as well. But for the most part, it's inactivity is the most times when it goes inactive. Over a period of time. I don't know what that time may be, but over time it becomes inactive. Okay. Yeah, I'll bring up the SAM.gov and a capability statement towards the end here. And then, like I said, research the eligibility requirements and documentation requirements before. Most of them can be found right there on the SBA website under the tab, the Contracting Assistance Program. And then gather gather the application documents electronically first. That's very key. Doing business with the federal government, you're going to be asked to provide a lot of administration, a lot of documentation. Good electronic record keeping is very key, not only to applying for applications and certifications, but also responding proposals. Because once you respond to a few of them, instead of going to regenerate the information every time, then you can just pull the information from your database or wherever you store your documents. So it's very good to keep electronic file records because a lot of these applications and proposals are now submitted electronically. And then you want to create once you have your NAICS code, you understand, you research if the government buys what you sell or provide. You want to register with the SAM, check the eligibility requirements for whatever SBA program you would like to apply for, gather your documents, and then I would say it's a time to go to certified.sba.gov and create that account. It'll pull your company information as you claim the business from the SAM, and then you'll be able to apply for any of those SBA programs through the SBA's website. And if you do that, it's not hard at all. It's just uploading documents. Throughout the process, you got to remember that the SBA is for all industries. So some of these application requirements may not be applicable to you. You don't have to go make something up or feel that you don't now meet the requirements, because that if you're not doing international trade, then there's nothing in that section for you to provide. But it doesn't mean that you don't qualify. Usually we just put it on a Word document that this is not applicable and why, and that's what gets uploaded into that section. Another good thing to do is build a relationship with your local SBA, letting them know that you're a small business in the community. The SBA gets contacted a lot for contractors in the area. You want to be known as one of those contractors in this area, or companies in this area. Because when they get a call and say, Vandenberg says, I'm looking for a company that, cleans floors and does janitorial work, who does the SBA have to offer? You want your name to populate. Even if you're not in one of the SBA programs, doesn't mean that you don't try to have a relationship with the Small Business Administration, because there still are local liaison, even though you may not be in any of the programs. They're still there to assist you with building relationships and whatever else assistance that you may need. Whether there's access to capital, they throw a lot of good workshops. If you have legal small business questions, the Small Business Administration is a good place to start. So some of the key points and takeaways today was understanding the solicitation requirements. It's just very key to a successful response to a government contract. Utilizing the SAM.gov not only for just to respond to future opportunities, but using it as your own research tool to see if the government's buying what you're selling in your area. And I'll show you in a minute, how to use some of the search tools on the SAM.gov. And then participating in the small business programs that you can qualify for, and maintaining a relationship with the SBA. My information is there. There's my email address. If you're looking for, one-on-one advising, I do that through the EDC, Small Business Development Center. If you're not a client, they do a quick onboarding of your company, and then they can set you up with any advisor, whether you need help with government contracting, if you're looking for help with marketing, if you're looking for help with website development, grant writing, access to capital. This nonprofit organization is very good. Like I said, I used to be a client before I became an advisor back in 2012 and 2013, and I was seeking business advice and access to capital to kind of scale my business up and be able to hire more staff. And I went to the EDC, and they were able to steer me in the right direction and get me with some good financial advisors and help me understand, just business finances and how to make myself attractable to be able to get a business loan or capital. Questions, anyone? Before I'm gonna go on to the SAM.
Jonathan, you said you had, you did construction management first, that was your entry into the?
Yes.
Was that like a licensed trade at that point, or was it
No.
just a managerial?
It was just managerial. I was a one-man show. I didn't have any employees at the time, and I was just, there was a need for construction managers for some of these larger contractors that didn't want to deal with small contracts, but they would let me do the construction, pretty much show up as their liaison as a construction manager. And that was what I initially got into the 8A program in, under construction management. And then I also just grew into a general contractor, roofing contractor. It was always the goal, but I can't sell myself as a roofing contractor from just myself, so that wasn't a good sell. But also, just so you know, unless the solicitation specifically states it, you don't need to be licensed to work on federal base. Federal base is not governed by state law. So for me, I'm a roofing contractor and I have a roofing license. I don't have a general contractor's license, but I do quite a bit of construction. But I don't need I've already displayed the experience, I have the insurances and the bonding capacity to be able to do these larger projects. So I'm able to, compete for them. But if you read the fine print of some of these solicitations, they don't all require you to be state licensed because they're not governed by the same, this federal and state.
Was the big deal.
Yeah.
So Jonathan, you were a NACE manager.
Mm-hmm.
If you were awarded something that would require work more than you could accomplish under that contract, could you subcontract it to a firm that could do the work?
Oh, yeah.
And you're just the manager?
Yeah, and that was my next maturation process. Was then when I had the opportunity to become a prime contractor, but still didn't have the labor force to perform, I would subcontract out to contractors that I knew were already working on base, because I wanted a good reputation, right? I didn't want to bring anyone that that didn't understand the base, especially in construction, with the safety requirements, the administrative requirements. So I had teamed up with the previous person that was working out there, and I was subcontracting to him for a few projects until then I could, save my own capital, and then I started to hire my own workforce. And I still subcontract out now.
And when you respond to the proposal, you're including their expertise and their workforce under you? Or?
Yeah, sometimes, depending on the requirement. But to answer your question, yes, for requests for proposals, I would write in my subcontractor, but we would have to do what's called a teaming agreement for them to be able to receive their experience. It's not a joint venture, but it's a teaming agreement. And a teaming agreement means that they're my exclusive subcontractor, and that protects both parties, because I go in and sell your business, right, as a team member of mine, and we're the successful awardee, and I go and sell it off for a cheaper price. The teaming agreement legally protects, the subcontractors from that, and gives them and adds them protection. You can also do joint ventures. Joint ventures are when two companies join together to form one. Typically, joint ventures are formed to respond to a maximum of 3 solicitations. When you do a joint venture, you get a new EIN number, you get a new unique entity identification number, formerly known as a DUNS number. And that company's information, when you're responding to a solicitation, is looked at as one. It doesn't matter if company A only has 2 years experience and company B has 20 years experience. The joint venture is looked at as having 22 years of experience.
Repeat that about the DUNS, used to be a DUNS?
The UEI number, unique entity identification number, is replace the DUNS number. So now once to answer your question just came to my mind, when you register with the SAM and have an active account, you'll get a UEI number. And when you're responding to RFQs, RFPs, there's always a place for you to enter your UEI number. It used to be a DUNS number, but now it's a UEI number. Is where you can search words, solicitations, keywords, locations. This drop-down box, if you want exact words, we'll do roofing for the sake of. So when I search roofing, here's all the projects nationwide, or actually globally, they all pop up here on the website. And then you can filter. If I want to do new contract opportunities, assistance listing, entity information, and I'm going to be looking for contract opportunities, and that didn't work. So you want to just set your filters. When you're logged in, you'll be able to do a search editor and save searches. In this tab here. And this is what I was telling you. When you click on a solicitation here, tells you if the project's active, gives you some information about the project. Here's what the NACS code that the contract is solicited under. This is a multiple award IDIQ potential contract, meaning that there's going to be multiple people selected for the long-term IDIQ. And then it'll have all the documents and solicitations to download, any links that are pertinent to the solicitation. And then this is where I would get my contact information. So there's a contact information to Shepherd Air Force Base in Texas, 2 contacts, and you could potentially, generate a lead from those contacts. I'm not interested in doing that project, but I may be interested in working at Shepherd, and I want to introduce myself to them or find out who is a small business to them. But there's your contact for your lead when we're trying to find out who the decision makers are. How do we talk to and get our information in front of these clients? You can search Vandenberg, and the different opportunities at Vandenberg will pop up here. So I use this for a search tool more than anything right now. In the beginning, I was scouring this thing. It used to be called the FBO, or Fed Bids Op, and it recently changed, which is a much better system. But it allows you to to generate leads, not only to federal contractors, federal government employees, but also you can find out who are the previous awardees of some of these contracts and contact them to see if there's opportunities to partner and sub work from some of the awardees of people that are already doing business on the federal government base. And that, again, opens the door for relationships, allows you to get past performances, and it allows you to get some government experience, kind of speak on somebody else's dime. Anyone have questions about the SAM.gov?
save it, get notified when something new pops up in your zip code or NAICS code.
Or keyword.
Keyword,
Yeah, and they come up as like every day you'll get like, depending on you'll get a email and it have just the links to whatever those solicitations that you have on your saved search. I'm not logged in, so it won't let me do it.
Do the save search at,
Here,
right down in there, okay.
in your search editor, when you're logged in.
So when you register, you say you can register with more than one NAICS code,
You have to have one primary.
one primary,
Mhm.
then, so what if they're totally unrelated?
That's fine. Long as you're not overpromising, right? Again, I'm a roofing contractor, but I also have the NAICS code for furniture removal because we've done furniture removal for clients that are moving stuff around before they're getting ready to renovate or do a construction for a business. So as long as you can provide the service, you're allowed to put the secondary NAICS code. I'm going to go to the SBA's website here. And under this tab, Federal Contracting Program, so here's all the different contracting assistance programs that the SBA offers. And any of the ones that you are interested in, you could click on those and start to apply and get more information about them. You were talking about the Veteran Assistance Program. That's also on the website, but it takes you to the portal to the veteran-owned contracting assistance program. But both the systems communicate with each other. So the SBA.gov website is a great resource for information, whether it's about federal contracting, about the different programs that they offer, and also if you're looking for different access to capital. The SBA has their SBA loans, their 7A loans that are for larger dollar amounts, and the SBA doesn't necessarily, they're not a lender, but they work with certain banks where they quote unquote will co-sign a small business loan for you depending on the parameters. You have to write a business plan, there's a credit history attached to that, but all that information is on the SBA's website if you're interested in needing access to capital. And then so here's the certified.sba.gov website. See at the top the different statuses where there's HUBZone, veteran, woman-owned program. The default is the AA program. And, you can go through the prompts here, and that's where it starts with type in your NAICS code or description of your business to see how much the federal government has awarded in your field. That's always a good place to start. Any questions on any of those?
Well, I was gonna wait till you finish, but if we missed the first part, is there somewhere we can go to see that online?
Yeah, I recorded the last one, and I eventually hope to put all 3 series up. But maybe Devika, we can share the slideshow.
If it's okay with everybody in here, if you guys want the information for the first one, I'll just take your email address from the sign-in sheet and email the PowerPoint to all of you guys.
Yeah. And then again, if you wanted more information or a one-on-one, you can always go through the EDC and set up a one-on-one. I was going to bring up a capability statement so you can get an idea of what that one-page snapshot looks like. So here's a copy of a capability statement that we were talking about, that one-page snapshot. You can format it in any way you want. You know, you have your mission and qualifications. You want to give all your business information. For my field, what's really important to my clients is to know, like I have what's called bonding capacity, performance and payment bond. Any of our corporate designation, if we're small business status, whether we're in the hub zone. This is actually a particular capability statement for a joint venture that I have with one of my proteges. So as you see, I can show that JDCM, which is my company, is hub zone, but he's in the 8A program. So this company is 8A hub zone certified. We show the different services on here, where we've done this work, you know, who we do it for, whether it's the SBA, Small Business Administration, whether it's our license information. The other company is a B license, so now we have both licenses. So again, our companies became one entity, and now we respond to solicitations as one entity. And then on the back, we like to just try to, you know, put our NAICS codes or some of your past performances, if you can, you know, put them on there. And when I started, this didn't look like this. You know, this is a living document that it's gonna grow over time as your company grows, as your reputation grows, as your services grow. So it's more of a living document. I probably had a few paragraphs and a couple bullet points when I first started. But again, you know, after 15 years, you continue to update your capability statement because it is a widely recognized source of marketing material. The SBA, also, if you sign up with the EDC or the SBA, first and foremost, if anyone from the SBA or they represent themselves as the SBA or a Small Business Development Center and they try to charge you for something, it's a fraud. These applications are free to apply for. Services of the SBA and the Small Business Development Center are free to the community. These are nonprofit organizations. Again, you can most certainly pay for certifications. When I got certified in 2010, I did pay for a service to prepare my 8A application, but it was a whole different process then. It was a binder about this thick that I had to submit, and again, you got to have it all submitted correctly. So, but now you don't need it, and I wouldn't recommend anyone paying for it because at the end of the day, quite frankly, all the information comes from you. So all you're going to do is give that information for someone to organize it. But now through technology and the web portal, you know, you're uploading it and it's organizing it for you. So none of these applications cost anything to apply for. You shouldn't need, and there's a lot of free resources out there for you if you need help applying for any of these certifications or understanding any of the certifications. That's all I had for today. We'll be doing another part 3 where I'll talk more specific about marketing to the government because that's done in a unique way, and then maintaining the relationships of your current clients that you attract, and then, you know, some of because it's all different fields, but then just some of the contract, you know, how to execute a government contract once you're finally successfully awarded one.
Do you have a date for that yet?
We don't, but she will put it out.
So, are most of you guys already subscribed to our newsletters, or did you hear about this word of mouth? So I would recommend that everybody sign up to receive our newsletters at lompoc.com, and then you'll get the notifications, and we usually try to market at least 3 weeks in advance.
Yeah, sign up for those newsletters, the SBDC and SBA, because I just seen I think it might be later today at 3 o'clock. The SBA is doing a webinar on an effective capability statement and how to, so get on those newsletters, all those emails. They look like junk mail, but they have a lot of good pertinent information in there about workshops, resources, whether, a certain Navy, SBA, they're doing, small business outreach seminars and stuff. So that's where you really want to, that's when you get to go hand your capability statement out, shake hands, and generate possible leads.
What's involved with doing a mentor-protege relationship? Is it a qualification through the SBA?
So joint ventures no longer have to be approved through the SBA anymore. Mentor-proteges do. Mentor-protege, it comes into play when you're going to partner or joint venture with a large business. And when I mean large businesses, they're over the threshold of size standard. And once you joint venture with that business through the mentor protege program, then they can be considered a small business.
Does the protege have to be an 8A contractor or
No.
small business?
Small business, yeah. It doesn't have. It's more prevalent in the 8A mentor protege 8A program, but it doesn't have to be. My experience with mentor proteges is, if they have resources that you can benefit from, then I could see doing a mentor protege. But if they want to live off of your status, it never works. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I was just thinking the bonding capacity for a new project.
Correct.
That we have a real tight marketing lead for.
There you go.
Bonding capacity, but they do.
There you go. There's the need. But you don't necessarily have to do mentor protege, because see what happens with a mentor protege, you're like locked in, right? You may consider a joint venture because you're only bound to that joint venture. When a mentor protege, it's more of a long term.
Oh, sure.
Is
there a minimum time limit on that?
It's whatever you guys set. Yeah, but for a joint venture, it's specific to only 3 awards. And after 3 awards, the joint venture has to dissolve. But you can do, a lot of people do it again and just name it a joint venture 2, 3, and so on, if it's a successful joint venture. But it just gives you the flexibility. What I figured out is life changes so much, and it can affect your partners. So that's why it was hard for me to do. I've never done a mentor protege. I don't think I would do a mentor protege program with a protege. I would just do a joint venture teaming agreement, and we team up per opportunity. Because I also find out too, as you grow, you're locked into this mentor protege agreement, but now your bonding capacity grows, so maybe you don't need as much, but you're locked into this, and that also is going to come with noticeably a profit split of revenues. And when you're locked into this long-term mentor protege agreement deal, it stunts your growth if you're ready to grow financially. You know what I mean? But it's like the catch-22. Well, I can't grow until I get this large contract, which they have the bonding capacity for. So I do understand that. Just understand, the nuances of what you're getting into with a mentor protege versus just doing like a joint venture, which is a little bit more short-term and then a little bit more flexibility. And then the terms of a mentor protege or the joint venture are just whatever the 2 companies decide on. Yeah. And then that has to get ran through the SBA for approval, and then you'll be able to. You can actually sole source direct award to joint ventures that are 8A now too, which that's been new. But yeah, I mean, if you have any more questions, feel free to, shoot me an email or set up a one-on-one advisor session for sure. Well, thank everybody for their time today. Like I said, we'll be on the lookout for session 3, and miss session 1. Give your information to Davika, and she'll get those presentations out to you.
Thank you.
See, she's already on it. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate you.